Hello YouTube, Wes here, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Vinyl Survivor series. The Vinyl Survivor series is where I give a critical listen to albums I've purchased and let you know whether they're going to be going in my permanent collection or whether they just weren't for me for whatever reason. So yeah, this is why my inbox is larger than my actual collection, because it takes me a long time to sort of get familiar with an album, really give it some serious listening time, and really give it some thought on whether it's something I really want to keep or whether it just isn't for me. So this is kind of the final reckoning of that process, letting you know what I'm keeping and what I'm not keeping of all the things I purchased, because I purchased a lot. So let's go ahead and get into it. 10 records up on the chopping block as always. First album we have here is from 1988. This is from the Boston alt-rock group The Pixies, their debut album, SupraWes. A nice mobile fidelity release of this. Number 5017 is my number. So the Pixies are kind of outside of my wheelhouse. They're kind of all over the place. Some of their stuff is in my wheelhouse. It's more melodic, it's more mellow. Some other things they do is outside of my wheelhouse. They can be very thrashy, very loud, very brash, and a very interesting group. And they kind of weave those different sort of feels all through their albums. This debut being included. This is probably most well known for the song "Where Is My Mind." It's been ads and stuff everywhere. So yeah, I was kind of new to the group, went ahead and grabbed this mobile fidelity release a couple years back and been working on it over the past few years, and have decided that this is a keeper for me. I really do enjoy this album. Sometimes it gets a little too noisy for me, but overall I really enjoy this album and this group. And I like how it sort of ebbs and flows as far as being more melodic and more loud and brash. So nice Stoughton jacket, being from Mobile Fidelity, gatefold. Really nice release of this. There's the nice Mobile Fidelity release there. So yeah, the first one up on the chopping block, the Pixies SupraWes. It's staying in my collection. Really enjoyed this one. So that one is going to be in my permanent collection. All right, next up I have a release from a California indie pop group, Small Pools, and this is their debut and only album, Love Tap, from 2015 is the release year on this one. Yeah, it's kind of an indie pop with more of a faster paced kind of a pop punk kind of sensibility to it a bit. It's not straight ahead pop punk, but it definitely is definitely kind of has more of a faster pace to it. The pop songs on here, so yeah, a nice enjoyable album from them. You might have heard their song American Love. I've heard that in various TV shows and stuff. It's been around. You've probably heard it before. And there's that on the RCA label. Yeah, so I did enjoy listening to this. I'm going to be keeping it. It's kind of more of upbeat, as I said, upbeat, faster paced pop songs, pop rock kind of songs, a little bit pop punk. Good stuff. Definitely a group I enjoyed. So it's going to be staying in the collection. Okay, next thing I have is staying in sort of the indie rock kind of poppy kind of feel. This is the fifth album by the group Starfucker. Strfkr is how they had to change their name to be less offensive, I guess, but it's still pronounced the same. This is their album Being No One, Going Nowhere, 2016, fifth album by the Portland group. And yeah, this is kind of a very bouncy pop record with very dark themes. It's kind of interesting. It's the theme of this record is about how insignificant we are in the universe, so that kind of lends itself to this artwork here. Yeah, really cool album. As I said, one of my favorites from that year. Very, very cool sort of theme. Really good, enjoyable songs. As I said, on the surface, they're very poppy and bouncy, but the theme is very dark, so it makes for an interesting listen. I really appreciated that. And the inner sleeve has some more artwork on it, and then some lyrics. And then this release I think this is a first pressing. I don't know whether they're all like this or not, but it's on this really cool blue marbled vinyl. Definitely fits the theme and the album artwork quite well, so that's really nice to have. So yeah, that's Starfucker with Being No One, Going Nowhere, staying in the collection. I like this sort of contrast of how, the sound is very bouncy and upbeat, and the theme of the lyrics are very down and kind of introspective. Yeah, a really good group, and I definitely recommend checking this one out if you haven't before. All right, next up I have a Feed Bands release. This is actually the second Feed Bands release. And Feed Bands is or was, I'm not sure if they're still doing this or not. They do sort of crowdsourced vinyl pressings where people vote on, artists will submit their work to the site. People will listen to it and vote on whether they think it should be pressed on vinyl. And then they will press whatever gets the most votes kind of thing. And yeah, this is the second release from Feed Bands, and this one's by the psych shoegaze group titled Vliets, Vliets, from 2013 is when this release is from. And yeah, they're kind of a psych shoegaze group. I guess maybe if you are into that kind of thing, if that was your jam, was sort of psych shoegaze kind of stuff, this might be more for you. For me, it was like just sort of average in that genre. It didn't really stand out to me as anything amazing. I enjoyed listening to it, but it's not something I think I'm ever gonna pull again. So for that reason, it's not gonna be staying in my collection. But it was an interesting listen. I'm glad I got to hear it. And Feed Bands does always do colored vinyl, and this one's a really pretty marbly, purpley vinyl. Very, very nice. However, very, very generic as far as the labels go. So it's very difficult to discern what release you have there. And even the cover here itself, it just doesn't have any kind of name on it or anything. It just has some title tracks. And I guess this was before they were numbering. They did also do numbered releases. But yeah, Vliets, I can't really recommend them. I just think they're kind of average for what they are. So that's not staying in the collection. All right, next thing I have to share with you is the second studio album from the Adelaide, Australia group Atlas Genius. This is their album titled Inanimate Objects from 2015. And yeah, they do kind of a pop rock kind of sound. Can be kind of a big pop rock kind of sound. Kind of like in the wheelhouse of The National. If you like them, you might like this group. There's the back cover on this one. And it's just got a single sheet insert here with some lyrics and liner notes on it. And then this is on a black vinyl. So yeah, Atlas Genius from 2015. I like this enough to keep it. I enjoyed listening to it. I think it's something I might want to listen to again in the future. So that one is going to be staying in my collection. All right, next up I have the 2016 release from Young the Giant, California indie pop rock group Young the Giant. This is their album titled Home of the Strange. Definitely has some themes of being an immigrant in America to some of the songs. That kind of works its way into the artwork here as well. Several of the members of the group are immigrants themselves, recent immigrants. So that's kind of an interesting aspect to this album, is it does have sort of some semi-political kind of autobiographical kind of themes to it. Continues on inside, neat gatefold on this one. Yeah, very polished pop rock kind of sound to them. Definitely enjoyed hearing this. I think the title, the track America first track on the album was pretty popular. I think maybe you might have heard it before. You might not have known you heard it, but it was definitely recognizable for me. And then this one has an insert as well with some lyrics on it and some more artwork. More artwork on the labels that sort of matches the cover art. Black vinyl pressed at GZ. So yeah, Young the Giant, Home of the Strange. It's going to be a keeper for me. It's going to be going in my permanent collection. I liked how it sounded, and I liked listening to it. I think I might want to hear it again. So that's a good one to check out. Next thing I have to share with you is a release from the usually folk singer Jewel. But this is when she tried to go pop in 2003. This is the 12-inch release for her song Intuition. She tried to do this Madonna pop kind of thing, and it didn't really work out for her. And I can see why. Just not great. Yeah, 12-inch single here. 2 LP 12-inch single with 8 different mixes of the song. Yeah, they're just typical sort of electronic pop dance club kind of mixes. Just, yeah, not a great listen, not enjoyable. I love Jewel to death. I love her folk work. I loved her most recent album. I loved her debut album. I love all her stuff, most of the stuff in between. I did not love this. I am not keeping this. I almost kept it just because of what it is, and but yeah, I can't make myself keep this. Just because it represents a bad side of Jewel, I guess is the best way to put it. I can't recommend this at all. I do have this album that this came from on CD. It's not great either. You know, she did basically a dance album, and it's just not. It doesn't work for Jewel, I don't think. And these are on the Atlantic label. Pretty cool to see sort of a slightly modified version of that green and orange Atlantic label. So yeah, Jewel's Intuition 12-inch. Definitely did not enjoy this and can't recommend it. All right, next up I have another 12-inch single. This one from 1984, I believe. Yes, 1984 from Thomas Dolby. This one is the 12-inch single for Dissidents. I believe it's the third single from the Flat Earth album by Thomas Dolby. Just some extended mixes of the song on here. Very, very sort of Tom Dolby of the time, sample-based kind of mishmash of rhythmic tracks with sound clips, and enjoyable, but I have the album and I don't really need this 12-inch. It does have extended versions, but they didn't really stand out to me as being something I would want to keep. So yeah, Tom Dolby, Dissidents 12-inch. Not going to be staying in the collection, but I do like the album, and I'll keep the album itself. Okay, next up we're going way back to 1976 here. We've had a lot of more modern stuff in this episode, but not going to forget about the 1970s here. We have Steve Hillage with his second solo album titled L. Steve Hillage was with the group Gong, and he went solo and continued on with a similar sound, very spacey, rocky, very kind of spiritual sounding tracks here. And also a mixture of covers on here. He does a cover of Hurdy Gurdy Man. He does a cover of George Harrison's It's All Too Much. But the covers on here are actually good. I like the covers. I like the sound of this album. It's very much a spacey, rocky, spiritual kind of sounding album. If you like a lot of very fancy, flashy guitar riffs, you're going to enjoy this. Very spacey guitar kind of stuff. You'll definitely dig this, and I dug it. It's an excellent album, in my opinion. I enjoyed hearing it. This one is going to be staying in my collection for sure. Hopefully be able to find an upgrade to it at some point. And this one is also on the Atlantic Red and Green label. So yeah, if you dig space rock, check out Steve Hillage's L if you haven't already. I really like this one. Definitely going to be keeping that one in the collection. And lastly, and not leastly, definitely going back a little bit further here. We're going all the way back to 1970 with the third album from King Crimson. This is Lizard. Just killer album from them. Apparently Robert Fripp thinks this album is garbage, but I really enjoyed it. Lots and lots of Mellotron on here, which I love the Mellotron, so this definitely features a lot of Mellotron. On this record, they went a little more jazzy. There's a lot of saxophone on here. It definitely has a jazz influence to it, but it's not too much into the jazz world. It's still definitely very much a prog rock album. Very heavy. As I said, lots of Mellotron. I love this album. Excellent album by King Crimson. Kind of a plain insert here with just a weird swirly pattern and some lyrics. The whole second side is kind of a lizard suite, a whole big suite they do. But the album is great. Both sides of the album are excellent. And if you're into prog, you should definitely have this. And if you have a King Crimson collection, you should definitely have this one. Definitely recommended. It should be on the Atlantic label as well. Yes, it is. It's an Atlantic release of that. So yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of The Vinyl Survivor. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end here, 7 survived, 3 didn't. So that's a pretty good ratio. Please think about subscribing so you'll be kept up to date with future episodes of The Vinyl Survivor. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, a great night. Remember, there is no bad music, only music you don't like, and we'll see you again next time. Cheers!